there, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Laura, and this is Patricia.
Hi.
Welcome to the Equestrian Skill Builders Riding Position Show, where we discuss riding position topics and share ideas and exercises to help you or your riders. If you'd like to improve your riding and training, win more ribbons at your next horse show, or generally like other horsey related stuff, then stay tuned because I think the exercises we're going to share with you today might very well change your riding forever in a good way. Right, a guest hosting today with me is Patricial Jellerson. Hi, Patricia.
Hi. How are you? Hey, everybody.
Patricia, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a large R judge, a USEF R judge, and I also am still a trainer, kind of semi-retired, but I have some clients and we work at home and then go to some A-rated and local shows. And I do the judging, all different areas. I do the A shows, the schooling shows, some IEA and IHSA shows. So that's always very fun. I'm very happy to have my judge's license.
Yeah. How's your summer been with the COVID the stuff going on?
Good. We had our first that we went to our first A show. I guess it was the beginning of September, and that went pretty well. You know, people were definitely following the guidelines, and I felt pretty safe about it. So yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
How about you? You guys still under severe restriction?
Yeah, we were okay, and then the city of Ottawa, where I'm from, they just put everybody they closed the restaurants and bars and movie theaters and, gyms,
Oh no.
fitness centers. They closed all those for the next month and asking people just not to go. So there has been kind of a peak that's coming
Mm.
through. Yeah. So, my name is I'm Laura Kelland-May. I'm an Equestrian Canada senior judge, hunter, jumper, equitation, and hack, and a senior steward and a competition coach specialist, high performance trained. And I'd like to thank Patricia for coming here. We always seem to have a good time getting
Mhm.
together, going over some exercises, and I think really we've got some new exercises. Patricia's got some videos here we're going to look at with some interesting exercises that we can talk about. And if you have any questions about what we're talking about, or if you have an issue that you're working through with your horse, please ask us because we'd love to help you out with it. And that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. We love questions.
Love questions. Yes.
Mhm.
Questions. Yes, we'd love to answer your questions. And if
Mhm.
you are on Facebook, you can go to the Equestrian Skill Builders page and like that page and be a part of that. We share a lot of things on the Equestrian Skill Builders page. And if you are on YouTube, please subscribe. Love to see and hear and have you be a part of that as well. All right, Patricia, you ready to go?
Yes.
So we got some exercises. Explain the first exercise that we're going to do today.
Well, I'm talking about maybe show the paper with the exercises on it. I'll go over it. Yeah. A couple of suppling exercises I use. One is a broken line, which is a kind of V-shaped line where your horse comes away from the rail, looking in the direction that they're going, and back to the rail, looking in that direction. Can be done at the walk, trot, and canter. And the other is a bending line, which is a curving line instead of the triangle, the V, where the horse continues to look in the direction he's going. And they're both great exercises because they teach the rider timing, and they also get the horse moving left to right and right to left. You know, a lot of horses tend to be a little stiff, and this is a great exercise I find to help that.
Yeah, and you could make this as easy or as difficult as you like, right?
Right,
Because
right.
you can make this if you're coming out of the corner, you can make it go tougher by going deeper towards the center line, or you can make it easier by making it a little shallow.
Right.
And
And you
right?
can fit in a couple down the long side when you get proficient at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you have an advanced horse or a beginner rider, you can make it easy for them. You could put a cone to have them
Mhm.
steer around the cone, or you can make it in easy as or as difficult as you
If
like.
you want. And when you do it at the canter, if you have a horse that's good with their changes, flying changes, it becomes challenging because the horse wants to automatically
Uh, you
swap
want to
leads.
you want to keep the bend
Yeah. You want to
as
keep the same canter and not swap off leads because you're teaching the horse to stay balanced on a little bit of a counter canter when you're making those lines. So it's a good precursor to working on your counter canter.
do you think that some horses get confused with that, whether or not they're you
On the
know
right lead or not.
yeah.
I find no, I find if anything, it helps because the horse needs to be supple on both sides. You know, if you have a horse that's stiffer on one side than the other, the counter canter really helps that. And then when you get in your upper level equitation classes, it's so common that the horse needs to be comfortable cantering on either lead. And I think if you're just particular and careful about your canter departures, whether it's the left lead or the right lead counter canter or true canter, it won't be confusing to the horse.
So that's really important because this exercise really helps riders understand what they have to do to keep that canter, to feel the balance of the horse
Mhm.
and be very clear with your aids, your canter aids, how you keep that canter. So it's a and good for developing your communication.
It is. And you have to be subtle. Like the horse that we have a demonstration for is very good with his changes. And we had to work on this quite a bit because my rider would be a little too aggressive with her leg and the horse would swap off. You have to use all the parts of your bodies together in a very smooth and subtle way, your hands, your seat, your leg, to make this exercise successful.
I'm just putting something in the chat here for people. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so let's go on to the person who's doing it.
This is my student, Mackenzie Hallman. She's so good. She's always willing to be the guinea pig. And a lot of times in our lessons, I'll say, hey, Mackenzie, let's do this exercise so I can video it for the podcast. And she's a great sport about it. So this is a broken line at a trot. You'll see the horse is looking in the direction he's going when he comes into the middle and back over to the rail.
So tell us about the horse.
This horse is a mare. She's about 13 years old. She's a pretty steady girl. She's very brave to the jumps, does a good change. Is a little sensitive as mares tend to be. You know, sometimes if you use your leg or your spur a little too strongly, she'll pin her ears. We have her in the bungee because to me that's a very innocuous type of training aid, you know, especially when it's on the side and not under the belly. It just helps this horse pull herself together. She tends to get kind of strung out at the canter, and my rider is working on keeping her hands soft. So rather than the rider having to get stronger and hold together, the bungee helps that a little
Now,
bit.
did
So,
you want her to keep the bending to the left all the
no,
time, or do you want her to change the bend?
she should be bending in the direction she's going.
So when she comes off the track, let me just see if I can go back here, back. So here she's bending.
She's
So
looking
there she's
straight. She should be looking straight on the diagonal line.
okay. So looking straight. So she's changing her leg position, and then does she go bend to the right when she's?
No, you use both hands and both legs because again, you want your horse to stay straight on the diagonal.
And then
This is not
here,
a bending exercise. So she should have the horse's head just a little more to the right.
To the right. Okay. So
Yeah.
so it's bending left, straight, bending right.
Yes. There, now
And
she's
then
straighter. Yeah.
straight and then bending left again.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I think on your email was because I had these at the Canner and the Trot, and I think I might have emailed the Canner and messengered the Trot. So, but
Oh,
anyway,
okay. You know what? The Canner ones, the email ones didn't come through.
oh, they didn't. Okay.
Well, if you can find them quickly, put them in the messenger,
Okay.
and then
Yeah, I
we can show them via the messenger.
will. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the Trot. That is the broken line. So that's the one with the sharper one. And you can see when she comes off the track again, like there's probably enough room there. She could do another one, as you say, once she get proficient at it.
Right. Right. I'm sorry to be looking down. I'm checking my.
Yeah, I know there's a lot going on here. We are live, and if anybody has any questions or comments for Patricia and I, we'd love to hear from you. Have you done this exercise with your horse? And I'm just going to go back to the diagram here because I want to show you what else that I make this exercise more difficult for if you have an advanced rider. If you go into the corner, I don't know if you do this, Patricia, or not. You come into the corner, you can go out, make this almost to the center line, and you can add a circle in here.
Oh, yes. Very good.
That
Very
is
good.
a very good suppling exercise. It's kind of like a shallow serpentine. So the
Mhm.
exercise we just watched was this one where it was off the track. The horse goes straight here, and then the rider changes his legs position and a little bit of a right bend. So inside leg on, outside leg behind the girth to get the right bend and go back to the track and then back on the left. So
Yes.
that's the exercise we just watched.
Mhm.
Okay, so Patricia has messaged me. Let's see what we
Yeah,
got
I
going
sent
on
you the
here.
couple cannering.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I said, it's a little more challenging cantering, but so good for the horse. I think the both of these are. If you have a horse that tends to lock on the bit a little bit or get stiff or is more supple one side than the other, I think this exercise really helps, kind of like going to the gym and working out a little bit. That's what I usually tell my riders. We have to find ways to
Great.
go to the gym for the horses.
Okay, so I'm going to share the Facebook one now. So just bear with me while we find it here. The horse is going to be cantering. Okay, Chrome tab, Facebook. Pardon me. I don't know which Facebook tab it is. Ah, good. Does that look right, Patricia?
Mhm. Yes, it is.
Okay, so same horse and rider.
Right. At the canner. Oh, good slow-mo. And that's the bending line. So you'll
Okay.
see that she kind of holds her shape to the right and doesn't do the apex, the two lines meeting, but just kind of keeps a nice smooth right bend. The horse not swapping off. So that's a good ride. Can't use too much leg or the horse is, if it's good with its changes, it will swap off. You have to be pretty subtle about it.
Okay, but you say that's not the right one.
No, no, it is.
Oh.
That's the bending. And then the second one, I think, is the broken line.
I like the way she keeps her horse like straight through the bending part. That's
Mhm.
so important because it's a very good strengthening and suppling exercise, and also an excellent exercise for riders to uh, figure out what the heck is going on with their legs to keep that canter.
Right,
You
right.
know.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to hold the bend a little bit in the direction you're going, for sure, with a little bit of your outside leg. And that one's the broken line. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just take that off here. Let's see if I can find the other one. Great videos, by the way. Oh, next time though, hold the camera
Sideways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I always forget to do that. I'm not the best videoer ever. Usually I'm
Oh,
getting a
you're
little better.
good. You got her in the
Usually
middle
I
and
leave part of the horse and rider out somewhere, or I lose
oh,
them entirely in the picture, you know. There's a couple of frames where there's nothing there but dirt, and then it comes back.
I don't know if I can.
And you
This
have
is
the bending line at the trot too. That might be a little easier.
okay.
Sometimes
That's the
it's a
bending
little hard
line.
looking at them to distinguish the bending line and the broken line at the
It's
canter
tough.
because it's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
subtle.
tough. Okay, so now we're going to share it again. Share screen. No, I want to do this. Thanks for, oops, wrong one. Okay, let's see if this is the right one. Is that the same
Yeah,
one?
I think so. That's the
Okay.
broken line. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get out of there. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay. Okay. They're pretty close, Patricia. I'm wondering
They
if you
are.
sent the same one twice.
Huh?
Okay.
Did I send the same one
I
twice?
don't know. Maybe. Let's just
So
see.
go back to the bending line at the trot, the second one at the trot. I think it
Okay,
was the
let's see.
original second video.
Okay. I'm getting there.
That's okay. Um,
Okay, so
and
let's do this. Share StreamYard, share
and then
screen.
the other video we'll get to that I included, I'll just talk about this a minute while Laura's looking for that video we want, is I have a lot of riders ask me, what do I do about getting my horse on the correct lead when I'm on the straightaway in a class? This is the, yeah, that's the bending line at the trot. So you'll see the horse is looking in the direction that he's going. See, he keeps a little bit of left bend, doesn't switch too much to right, unless that's a, is that the first or second video?
That's the second video. Okay, so I'll show you what I got here.
Mm-hmm.
We got this one. That's the
Mm-hmm.
the
Diagram, right?
okay. Then there's this one. Okay, so he's bending left, bending
Yeah,
right.
that's the
That looks
broken line.
smooth. That's
Yeah.
the broken line. Okay. And then we have this one. Maybe that's just the broken line on the other direction.
No, I think it's the bending. I think she just needed to, yeah, that's the bending line. She just needed to, at the beginning, hold that left bend a little longer. She let the horse turn right for a stride or two. Like right here, she's pushing away from the rail. Here, he should be bending left a little. And then the end of it, she finishes it correctly.
Yeah, so you could you can see, and I like the way you have looks like you have a pole or something in the corner to make sure that she gets into the corner at the end.
Yeah, actually, this barn has all sorts of different horses on it. I think that was a bridge that someone was working on for the
Oh,
trail, and it was strategically placed to help us. But yeah, I have a lot of riders say, you know, sometimes in a show, I'm stuck on the straightaway when they ask for the canter, and I'm always so worried that I'll pick up the wrong lead. And I usually tell my riders that they need to do a little haunches in, just a suggestion of one, when they're on the straightaway to help pick up the correct lead. And we have Mackenzie demonstrating that for us. It's taking a long time because she's being very deliberate to show you what we're talking about. So here the horse is walking on the straightaway. There, see, she's got a little haunches in. The horse is stepping to the inside with its back legs right there. And then it steps off in the correct lead when it's as it straightens out. That's what the haunches in haunches out does. Haunches in, I'm sorry, haunches into
launches
the
in, yeah.
center of the ring, yeah. So there, she's starting to set it up.
Okay,
Now
so
you
there
see
you
the
can
haunches.
see
Yeah.
that uh this hind leg is stepping to the inside, right?
Right, right,
That's what you're looking for. That
exactly.
won't work.
And
Okay.
then you'll see as the horse straightens out, it naturally shifts the weight to that inside front where they want to pick up the canter on.
Yeah.
Because this
So
horse is a great horse. She wins the hacks usually, but she will occasionally pick up the wrong lead on the straightaway if you don't set her up correctly. Because we've done a lot of counter, canter, and bending lines with her, and she's pretty equally comfortable on both leads.
yeah. So how do you get the horse to be? We're talking about their haunches in. So for people who've never done that before, how do you get the horse to bring its haunches in like that?
And again, this is a subtle haunches in. It's not quite like a dressage haunches in where
Yeah.
you're really two tracking. But you have to keep the horse's head straight. And then your inside leg holds the shoulder on the rail. Your outside leg comes back a little behind the girth and pushes the haunches in. And the most important thing is to just hold your horse so they don't go forward, walk too forward and avoid the exercise. So you see she's holding the horse's front end a little bit. She's moving it over with her back leg. And that's the correct way to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So here
there's a few things that I see that kind of, well, it bothers me about the way this horse is going forward into the canter. Like she kind of gets hollow and puts her head up
mhm.
through the transition, but that that is kind of
That's kind of the horse. It's something we're always working on, those transitions. And here you can tell the way she's kind of raising her head, she's
yeah.
anticipating the canter a little bit.
She's getting
So,
tense and
yeah,
really not really moving off the rider's leg. She's just, okay, yeah, all right, you're asking me to do something. I guess I
right,
have to do that.
right.
Okay, so here we have a question from Emily. Thank you, Emily, for asking this question. It's a very good question. I have a mare that's very explosive in her upward canter transition. What can I do to help her?
That is a good
Excellent
question.
question.
Yeah, I think a lot of times I'll pick up my canter from different gaits. Like I'll pick it up from the walk, I'll pick it up from a sitting trot, I'll pick it up on a circle. Picking it up on a circle is very good if they tend to blast off at the canter departure. And then I do a lot of canter walk transitions too, stepping up into the canter from the walk, coming back to the walk, stepping into the canter from the walk with few trots transitions. Because I find a lot of times, horses, when they do a transition upward or downward and there's a trot involved, it gets kind of fast and frenetic. So I like to teach them to keep their weight on their hind end by doing those canter walk, walk canter transitions. What
Yeah.
about you? Do you have any suggestions for her?
Well, I think, Emily, what you should do is send us a video so that we can see exactly what's going on with it. And I think even before you start working on the transitions, I think you should work on the canter itself so that the horse feels comfortable at the canter. Because if maybe there's some anxiety for that horse that when she goes into the canter, something's happening. Maybe they don't feel comfortable or balanced, so they're running. And usually when they go explosive in the canter, they're excited and they're fresh and
Mhm.
they, yay, I get to canter, and so they explosive in doing that. Sometimes also though they are unbalanced, so they start to run because they're unbalanced, and then
Right.
so right. So if you work at the canter,
Mm.
doing the circles, turns, doing some of the other exercises that we've been working on to get the horse balanced at the canter, then that issue is taken away. Then you can work on the transition.
Good point.
Yeah.
I really like circles when I canter. If you're cantering and your horse feels like it's starting to get tense, adding a good size circle, not a tiny
Not a
circle,
l
because
yeah,
that just
exactly. The
makes things
full
worse.
width of
Yeah.
the ring and half the length of the ring.
Yeah, a good
Some
size.
people
And just let the horse know, because that kind of bends the horse a little bit, which tends to calm them down. And the idea of circling shortens their stride a little bit. And so, it's a very helpful thing, I find, for sure. And also having someone on the ground, like Laura said, send us a video, but just having someone watch. Maybe there's something you're doing that you're not aware of, like leaning forward and so the horse anticipates, or maybe you're using a little too strong a leg, or maybe you have a
yeah.
spur when you don't need it. There's all sorts of things that could be going on that we don't realize without a ground person.
And also even building on that, Patricia, like if the rider gets off balance, or maybe there's something going on with your tack or equipment that's not
Hmm.
quite right. I like what you
Hmm.
say. Maybe you've got a spur or whip that the horse is a little bit apprehensive about, but maybe something's going on with the saddle as well, or the girth, or something like
True.
that. The horse is
Very
just
true.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, we have the mare that you just saw, the chestnut mare. We have to be very careful what size spur we use. We use a small spur, because anything even medium, the horse being a mare, she gets a little cranky and will react to by kicking out at the spur or pinning her ears. So we have to be very careful about not using, even though she doesn't go faster, she doesn't like the bigger spur and reacts accordingly.
In true chestnut mare fashion, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, so excellent question, Emily. Thank you so much. I would generally speak, I have a mare that's very okay. So it's a mare. Excellent.
Mhm,
Also, I would track to see if that explosiveness through the transition is happening at certain times of the month. Maybe your mare's coming into
mm,
season or going out of season, or something's going on with her
right,
heat
right.
cycle. That is something that some people overlook a lot,
Mhm.
and it's something that you have to be aware of for sure, because some mares are particularly sensitive.
Sensitive, yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that help out, Emily? Let us know. Let's
Yeah, let
see.
us know if any of those, we'd love to hear if the suggestions
Yes, exactly.
suggestions we've made are helpful and how
Yeah.
they work for you. Yeah.
And if anybody who's watching here, if they have had experience like this, if they do have some suggestions, please, we'd love to hear what you
Mhm.
have. It's always interesting to hear what other people have to say.
Now, one thing about the world of horses, there's always more than one way to do things.
Yes.
There are very few absolutes. It depends on the horse, it depends on the rider, depends on the history of both. There are a lot of considerations. So, one thing we wanted to address today too is the issue of chipping.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does it.
Most
And,
everybody.
everybody does it. And there are different degrees of a chip, right? There's what I call the chocolate chip, which is very disruptive when you're watching. And then there's a mild chip where the horse still gets its knees up and jumps in rhythm, just pretty tight to the jump. Here's my student Mackenzie showing us a chocolate chip.
Okay, so just go back, Patricia, and explain to us. That one's pretty close to
Mhm.
what is happening here with this, why we call it a chip, or what exactly a chip is.
Well, you can see the horse is taking off much too close for the jump, and it's just not having trouble getting its knees up in time. So it has to make a very kind of jerky motion to get those knees up and out of the way of the jump. And that is a true chip when that happens. Like I said, there's times that you can be close to a jump and the horse can still jump it in rhythm, even though it's a little tight. But a true chip, the horse completely loses their rhythm, and the jump is very awkward and disrupting.
So if we let me wind that back up again here, and you'll see the horse has excellent rhythm on the approach. Oh, I see what you mean about your video skills here now,
Ah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
so 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Whoop. So the rhythm was totally disrupted there, right?
Yes, and the horse had a steady rhythm, but I feel that there's usually two reasons why horses chip. One is not enough pace coming through the corner. The other one I see quite often when I judge are people that turn the corner to good pace and then run to the fence afterwards.
So
I
the
think
change in rhythm.
right,
Like,
right.
so
And
so
I
what happens there is that the horse's length of stride is, approximately 12 feet, 12 feet, 12 feet, and then they run to the jump, so they go 12 feet, 14 feet, 15 feet, so that
mhm,
just gets them really close to the jump. So you have to keep the
mhm,
same length of stride towards the jump.
right.
Now,
And I
before
think this horse kept the same length of stride, she just didn't have the
have enough
impulsion
pace.
she
Yeah,
needed,
yeah.
through the corner.
So let's just see now. Where would you have liked to have had this horse take off? Where is a good spot for this horse to take off?
I usually say about as far away as the jump is high.
Okay, so this jump is that
It's
high.
about 2.6, 2.6-ish, a little hog's back
So
jump.
he should have taken off. Pardon me. He should have taken off maybe where his back feet were.
Right, because you see the horse's front legs are very close to the ground line when it jumps, very close. Yes,
So you could see the length of that last stride is,
very short, very
yeah.
short. So if the horse was doing a 12-foot stride, this was probably like a 9-foot
So you
stride
could
before
see this
takeoff.
distance here between this hind foot and his front feet, right?
Mhm.
See how that distance there. Oops. It's going to have a hard time getting in the right spot. Pretty close.
Yeah, and you can see how the horse just in that shot, Laura, how the horse just barely can get its
Yeah.
knees up and not
He
hit
could
the jump.
talk about hanging his knees, eh? So if this happens, poor horse. Thank you so much for letting us look at your horse jumping over this jump. I mean, and it's really it's so good for us, to educate our own eyes too. And it's
Uh-huh.
so good for everybody who's watching to educate their eyes to
Mhm.
exactly see what the judge sees when they're going over a jump. So if a horse did this in a show that you were judging, Patricia, how would that reflect in the score?
A
If
trip like
one jump,
this,
yeah,
yeah, if you say that a good trip is gonna get you anywhere from 78 to 82, that's kind of a mistake-free trip with a good
decent
jumper,
jumper, yeah,
decent jumper. This is gonna take your score down to, like, 68
yeah, it's
at
going to
least, yeah. It's
drop it
gonna really
way
drop.
down because it's almost. I mean, if you watch the horse's knees over top of the jump, like he he
Yeah, he
just
couldn't even get his knees above the vertical, yeah.
right
And just because it's so disruptive too. Like I said,
disruptive of the pace.
you can get away with a jump that's a little tight or a little long if it's in rhythm, but something like this just totally breaks up the rhythm of the trip.
The other thing is, if you notice the way his hind legs are, I mean, it's the beauty of videos that you can stop it whenever you want.
Mhm,
You can see this horse's hind legs. They're split like this, right?
mhm.
They're split, and we would like to see when the horse jumps. We like to see their legs together.
Together. And you see that the horse is having to make a big effort behind the angle of the hocks and all to try to clear this jump.
And look at where her hands are. I mean, now we're
Mhm.
getting into the equitation part. Plus, if the horse gets too close, your riding position also.
Changes.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
usually I tell riders if your horse is coming to a distance that's long, you've got to stretch with the jump a little bit. If they're chipping, you got to give them their head. You know, they
And she
have to
does,
try to
totally,
get
right?
over the jump. Yeah.
I mean, her hands are, you know, up
Yeah.
by her ears, by the crown piece there in
Yeah.
the
She might be taking it a step too far, but you got to give the horse its head so it can do its best to get out of the way of the jump if you feel like you've got a mistake. And that's one thing the rider can do. You know, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody comes to a bad distance. But you have to be able to stay out of your horse's way and not make it worse by getting left or catching them in the mouth. You know, that makes a lasting impression. Whereas if you get a distance like this and stay out of your horse's way, chances are it's just going to make them a little more careful as they continue on, you know.
So what would you this rider, what would you ask her to do?
Well, if you see, move on to the next video and you'll see where I just told her to come through the corner with a little more impulsion, because this horse tends to be slightly lazy. And the horse, so if you come through the corner and you just kind of rest a little, the horse will suck back and chip in. So I told her to canter through the turn and make sure that you have plenty of pace.
Big difference. Okay,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. Sorry, it's difficult to see when it's that tiny. But yeah, so a different ride from this horse. She's looking
Mhm,
like she's going more forward. She's got more
mhm,
energy through the turn. She's
mhm.
like the rider's riding her, and right here you can see the rider's like pushing.
Yes,
So look at
yes.
where this horse is taking off here. That's where his
Mhm,
hind legs are.
mhm,
Can you see that?
mhm.
Maybe I'll just do it like this.
Yeah, now
So
it's
that's
taking off about as far away as the jump is high.
yeah, totally different ride.
And the back
And
legs are together, like you
yeah,
mentioned. Mhm,
and look at the horse. Look at the form of the horse over top of
mhm,
the jump. Knees are up and parallel and up, but just beautiful and pushing off equally with both hind legs.
mhm. Yeah, and there's a difference too, like I said, staying with the horse, because this chip would be like maybe a 68 because the rider stayed out of the horse's way. But if you have another chip where the rider gets left or catches the horse in the mouth, that's going to be even lower. That's going to be like low 60s because it was mistake on top of mistake.
Mhm. Very nice.
Mhm. Yeah, the thing I like about this pair that we've been working so much on is that rhythm, you know, keeping the same rhythm around the course, and they're getting better and better about that all the time.
Yep. So it's a rhythm and keep the balance in the corner.
Mhm.
Push the horse forward around the corner so that it can meet the jumps properly, keep the same distance. So for me, what I see this rider doing right here, she didn't want to chip again. So right here, she like pushes him up
Mhm.
to the jump. If she
Mhm.
hadn't have pushed him up to the jump, I just wonder if he would have added another step in there and chipped again.
Or at least have
Sorry,
left
the mare.
long and weak. At least have
Mm-hmm.
left long and weak,
Mm-hmm.
you know, one or the other.
Which is just as bad,
Yeah,
really, isn't it?
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
what?
hmm?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so if you're getting chips often, it's I'm going to say look to your pace, because either you're coming around the corner without enough impulsion, or you're running at the jump and not giving the horse time. I prefer to tell riders, ride through the corner with impulsion, then take a breath and see where you are. you know, and if you see the distance, ride up to the distance. If you don't, just sit still with impulsion and let your horse try to help you out and find the distance, because it's a partnership effort.
Definitely, keeping the pace in the corner is a big thing,
Mhm,
particularly if you're in your equitation class, where you have to maintain that impulsion to get to your next jump for
mhm,
sure. It's not a time to relax. It's time to get organized and, you know, figure out what pace you should be going at for sure.
mhm, mhm.
Do we have any
But
other ones here now?
I do see that a lot in shows. I see people coming out of the corner and just stepping on the gas, and I'm like, "Where are they going?"
That's going to
What's
drop your score down, right? I mean,
Yes, yes, absolutely, because
if
usually
you're
if you get to a decent distance, the horse isn't jumping real relaxed and nice anyway, you know? If you're coming out of the jump and out of the corner and running them at the fence.
yes. So if you are, what was it that you, was it you that said this? Somebody we had on before said you should be finishing the course with the same pace that you
Yeah,
started the course.
absolutely.
So if that means if you start that, start the course off with a nice steady canter, don't let it fail and get slower and slower and slower as you go on. Keep that course going. Keep
Mhm.
that pace going.
Right, and then on the other hand, don't let your horse build. You know, a lot of times we see horses that jump the first 3 or 4 jumps pretty good, and by the end, they are just ready to leave out strides, you know, it's just and that can be done at home. We've talked so much about poles, you know, doing a course of poles. Get your rhythm right over something like that before you start adding in the jumps, don't you think?
Well, yes, certainly. So, the rhythm is the foundation of your training scale. So you have to have your walk, trot, canter down pat before you move on from that. Getting
Mhm,
them over poles is really important because if you think of a course of jumps, there are, depending on what division you're doing or what discipline you're doing, there's 8 to 13 jumps, let's say,
mhm,
and there's 8 to 13 jumps, but there's all the stuff that's in between that you
mhm.
need to nail down before you get to the jumps that's going to make your jumps perfect.
Right.
It's those corners and the exercises that you gave us. I'm just going to go back to the exercises that you gave us, and all these exercises that you shared with us here today. Let's just see, am I sharing these exercises here? I mean, if you think about it, we have turns, the sharp turns. These are all elements that you can use in your course, really, that are going to
Mhm.
help benefit you when you're riding your course.
Yeah,
And you
because
don't have to learn anything.
once you start jumping, you add in so many factors. You know, there's the rider's nerves, the horse's anticipation. Will I get the correct distance? All that involved. Where if you do it with poles first and you get that under your belt, you've got the rhythm, you've got the pace you want, and then you can work on it with the jumps. But you know, just to go straight to jumping without doing any pole work, I find very difficult.
You can even do you think putting poles in these exercises would be good? Let's say you put a pole here to identify where you want to be going straight.
At the trot, certainly. At
Yeah,
the canter, maybe not, because I think that would
like
make
the
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 horse
swap.
tend to swap leads more.
Yeah, but
But
yeah,
cones is a great idea. You talked about using cones earlier. That's a great idea.
yeah, put a cone here
Mhm.
or
Or put a cone where you wanna start your bending line and then where you wanna finish it.
actually one of the exercises that I do a lot is circle in the corner
Mhm.
like this, circle this way, and then circle this way.
Hmm. That's a good exercise. Yeah.
And you can make that as difficult, or if this is the center line, you could make it half the width. You can make it, bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a 3-loop serpentine, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I think a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the figure eight over the fence. We showed that, and that's another good way to get your rhythm and
I
impulsion,
I did
good
notice
exercise.
that in one of your the canter, I think in the last video that you showed us,
Hmm.
that she approached the first jump. Is it this one? One of the jumps she approached here. Yeah, look. So she's not approaching that straight on. She's kind of coming at it at an angle, right?
Well, it's on the diagonal, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And the thing I like about this horse a lot too is you'll notice that that stride that she lands on is the same stride that she takes off from. She lands very balanced and she canters off in the same canter that she left from. And that's so important with the hunters, I think.
And how old is this mare?
She's 13.
So, I mean, she didn't come out of the gate doing that. She
No, no,
probably a lot of miles on this little horse to,
yes.
get her to come that way. And you said that she does it very well in the
Under saddle.
under saddle. Does she do well in the over fences too?
She does. She really does. Of course, competitively now, you to get a good ribbon, you have to wind up with 8 decent jumps, and this mare, if she does that, pins very high. Some
Oh,
every
she's
once
got a
in a while
nice jump for sure.
she does. Yeah, every once in a while she gets a little lazy and will
Chip.
either add a stride or um,
Is she
leave
a
a
big
little
horse?
long. She's 16-1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the rider's like 5'7",
I was
so.
gonna say she must be quite tall because
Mhm.
suits her nicely. Yeah, very nice. Okay, so what else can we talk about, Patricia?
Not sure. What do you think about when you're judging and you see the chips? How does it affect your judging?
Well, I think what I do when I have my score sheet, I keep a running tab of the score. So once I get my top 6 or 8, if it has a chip like that, I don't even watch it anymore, give it a score.
Mhm, mhm,
And it's difficult. Probably you find the same way, Patricia, when you're at a schooling show and you get a lot of mid 60s round and mid 70s round. With if they for me for them before they do well, they have to get to 8 jumps properly. They
right,
have to get
right.
to leave the jumps up. They have no refusals. Leave the jumps up and get to all the spots properly. Those are my
Yeah,
top 3 things. And then from there, I go the rhythm. They have to have a nice even tempo in between each jump, like we talked about, not zooming out of the corner or sucking back, or the change in rhythm. If your horse is a decent jumper, not spectacular jumper, but a decent jumper, and if you get to 8 jumps in a good rhythm, you're probably going to be okay,
yeah, you'd probably
you
be in
know?
the top half of the class, I would
Yeah,
think. And I think a lot of times too, I will pin a horse with a good rhythm and maybe a few mistakes, like maybe it gets a little tight or a little long, over a horse that might hit every jump perfectly, but has 10 different kinds of canters around the course. That
right.
consistency and rhythm is even a little more important to me than just nailing your jumps and having the in between pretty rough.
I totally agree with you. People often say, you go to the judges clinics and that type of thing. They say, well, the best jumper should win the class, and I'm thinking, yeah, that should win the class, but it's got to get all over all the jumps,
Mhm.
has to leave the jumps up, And like you, for me, it's got to be an even, steady rhythm. And that may even be more important in the novice type of class
Hmm.
versus a green
Absolutely.
horse type of class with the pros on or something like that. So that has a little bit of play in it for me too.
Yes, absolutely. I think when you're in the pro divisions, you're looking for a horse with a spectacular jump. And a
Wow
lot of times
factor.
that kind of trip may not look as smooth because the horse is making that big effort to get that spectacular jump. But it's across the board. It's not, that's
But
happening with all the top horses, and they're still smooth, don't get me wrong, but in the lesser divisions, the novice and the beginner divisions, I just want to see that horse going around clockwork, not particularly making a huge effort, just doing what's most comfortable for the rider and taking care of its rider.
nice and steady. And if
Hmm.
it's got a great jump, that's a bonus.
Hmm. Yep,
Complete thumbs up.
exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
the chipping in, I think for me, particularly in an equitation class. Now, if we just swap over to equitation, which means the rider's being judged, a chip in to the first jump in a line is frowned upon. But if you're going in a 4 stride, 5 stride, 6 stride line and they chip in, that is a bigger mistake for me because they should know that it's 72, 84 feet, whatever it
Right,
happens to be,
right.
and they should be able to ride it accordingly, knowing what their horse is and getting the different pace to get that distance done.
Yeah, and I tell all my riders too. I try to instill in them. It's hard to remember when you're actually out there doing it, but if you miss the first jump in a line, you've got to make some adjustment to the second one. Just to go along at the same pace and do nothing, you're going to hit the second jump wrong as well, right? If you jump in tight or have a chip to the first one, you got to flow along to the second one a little. If your horse makes a real big effort and lands deep into the line, then you have to steady a little bit. There's if the first jump isn't right, there's got to be some kind of adjustment to the second jump.
Totally agree.
Mhm.
Yes, if they just can't sit there and go along for the ride. They have to be
Mhm.
kind of a thinking rider and, well, gee, I got a little close to that one. I better do something to make the second one ride better.
Right, right.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody or questions?
No.
No, no comments or questions from anybody. I would like to invite people to go to Facebook to go to the Equestrian Skill Builders page and be a part of that. Really love to see there. I've got 800, I think 800 people there now,
Oh,
and
great.
I would like to get it to 1,000. Really, it's
Mhm.
my goal. So I want to get it to 1,000. So let's see if we can get that going up to 1,000.
And Laura's guests are usually judges or
Yeah,
people in the upper
like
level of
you
the
and me.
sport. Yeah, and she's a judge, so if you have questions, a lot of times people are in the dark as to what the judge is looking for, what they base their decisions on. Those are always good questions to come up with.
Yes, if anybody has any questions, we'd love to hear from you.
Mhm.
And also, we do position reviews. If you have, like we were talking a little bit about, what's the rider's name that sent in that you have today?
Mackenzie
Mackenzie sent.
Holman. Mhm.
Yeah, so Mackenzie did send in so we could see what a chip looks like.
Mhm.
Anne Marie, this is a fellow steward of mine. Anne Marie, loved every minute. Thank you so
Thank
much, Anne
you,
Marie.
Anne
Really
Marie.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, it was great. So any other things you'd like to say, Patricia?
No, I think just what my mantra is, do your homework, practice at home before you go to a show and do it, and get a certain degree of comfort and consistency at home before you're ready to show. You
Yes, so it's very important to do your homework, right?
Mhm.
Don't expect to go to the horse show and have your horse perform well if you haven't done it at home and be proficient at it at home.
Exactly. Because you have the added pressure of showing in front of people. The horse, generally feels a little different, feels the adrenaline and excitement. So it's going to be way harder at a show than it is at home. So if you can't do it comfortably at home, chances are the show's not going to go any better.
Yeah. It is a horse show. It's time to show us what you got.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up here, Patricia. Thank you so much again
Oh,
for
my
sharing all your
pleasure.
information with us. Really appreciate it. And if you do have any questions, please put them in the comments because we check the comments and we will answer your questions as best we can. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye,
See you later.
everyone.
Now go use this stuff and go hug your horse. Okay. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.